How you doing, people? Hope you're well, training hard. Okay, what is the story with bone density? Well, we all know, and we may have experienced it with older relatives, that bone density decreases with age. We've all seen the classic scenario where elderly relatives may be fairly healthy, break a bone, and it can lead to all sorts of complications. Of course, when you're 21, you fall over, get up, and carry on doing the stupid thing that you were doing in the first place. So what changed? Well, that process of losing bone density, or specifically bone mineral density, is, as I'm sure you know, called osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is that age-related condition where an individual has lost bone density, the bone has thinned, and is a lot more fragile. But there is a precursor to osteoporosis known as osteopenia, which is not as severe as osteoporosis, but someone is on their way towards more fragile bones and is on their journey towards osteoporosis. And there have been studies showing that when an elderly person has a fall and has a serious break of a bone, there's a 30% chance that that person will only live for one more year. Falls can be an absolutely devastating thing when you're older. So maintaining bone density is absolutely crucial. Okay, so how do we do it? What are the best ways to maintain and improve bone density? Well, the two main aspects are to do exercise that is weight bearing and also exercise that has an impact factor involved. Now, various exercises are going to incorporate those factors to varying degrees. Even if you're just standing, you are weight bearing. Now, if you go walking, that is weight bearing, but it will only have a very mild effect on bone density. Now, it's important to say everything is relative. If someone goes for a 3-mile walk, that is almost infinitely better than just sat on the sofa watching TV. If you stay on that sofa and watch TV all day, your bone density is going to spiral down very quickly. Then, of course, brisk walking is a little better than just steady walking. Brisk walking up a hill is even better because you're working against gravity. And then if you walk upstairs, that's even better. Now, if someone goes jogging, that will have a further positive impact on bone density, weight bearing, and there's a little more impact. But interestingly, there was a Norwegian study that compared runners to cyclists. In fact, it was elite runners to elite cyclists. Obviously, as we know, cycling is not weight bearing, but you are exerting a significant muscular force on the pedals. But this study showed that actually, even though there's a significant muscular resistance, it doesn't really impact bone density. And actually, from elite cyclists that were looked at, 10 of them actually were categorized as having low bone mineral density. And the end results of the study showed that the runners had significantly better bone density than the cyclists. Now, before I get a load of cyclists jumping down my throat, cycling has lots of positives. It's fantastic cardiovascular fitness, so it will tick all the boxes from a cardiovascular health point of view. It's great for mental health to get out there. You can explore areas on the bike. And also it's low impact, which in terms of bone density is not a good thing. But if someone has bad knees or needs to recuperate from an injury, cycling can be a good go-to activity. But just in terms of that factor of bone density, unfortunately the facts show that it's not the best. Now, actually, runners don't get off scot-free either on this, because even though there is a significant improvement in bone density, if you are a long-distance runner and you do a lot of long-distance running, improvements in bone density plateau off. Your body gets used to those stresses that are being put onto it through the running, and it doesn't really further improve bone density. So even though it was better than cyclists, there are still some limitations even to jogging or running, especially if it's long distance. Other sports like swimming, obviously not weight bearing, so do not have a good impact on bone density. It's still a good cardiovascular sport. And again, especially for people that have problems with their joints, because the water supports your weight, you can still get the cardiovascular health benefits. But again, just in terms of bone density, it's not a good one to pick. So what are the better ones? Well, exercises that involve impact. Anything that involves jump work is fantastic for bone density. Activities like dancing can involve jumps. Obviously, things like basketball or netball. Racket sports can have impact as well. But purely from a training point of view, exercises like squat jumps, star jumps, tuck jumps, or burpees with a jump, are all going to add that impact factor which really targets bone mineral density. So once again, HIIT circuits, if they incorporate jump work, are a fantastic way to train. Strength work is another thing that's going to improve bone density. Squats, deadlifts, lunges, bodyweight push-ups, all of these activities are going to increase bone density. Now, of course, as this channel is directed to over 40, over 50 people, I would always recommend that if you're going to do strength training, especially if you start to introduce heavier weights, get a professional to advise you on your technique. Once you get in your 50s, you've got all sorts of body baggage, and you don't want any hidden imbalances affecting your technique. So progressing up to these things is absolutely crucial, as well as making sure that your technique is spot on. But in terms of bodyweight exercises, for me personally, I enjoy the lunge jumps, squat jumps, burpees with a high jump, and star jumps. In fact, I have some routines that just solely have those exercises. And important to note, when I say impact, you don't have to land flat-footed, bang, on the floor. You can still land on your toes, and you'll naturally go from your toes to your heels, and there'll still be that impact force. But obviously you don't want to land flat-footed and hurt your knees. And the other thing to say is that with all these higher end activities, it's important to build yourself up to it. Unless you're already very fit with a resilient body, just introduce these steadily over weeks into your workout routines. My 28-day workout plans incorporate all this sort of stuff. Timeline 1 and Timeline 2 are just body weight. You can do them anywhere, no equipment required. And they steadily progress you into this type of exercise. But don't fall foul to that classic scenario of getting older, losing your bone density, and having falls. Falls are actually part of the statistics when we look at the health of a population. So you've got to constantly fight against it. There's a link in the description telling you about those workout plans. Highly recommend them. Got lots of people doing them now, I think getting ready for summer actually, to build strength and functional fitness with lots of different types of movements. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.